I will save it for obviously the main podcast when everybody gets here. But tip of the hat for going and picking up a physical copy of Concord. I don't know if you've seen the eBay stuff that's been dropping where people are trying to like see if they can't get some, both astronomical prices. But I saw somebody actually use Concord as a packaging for something that somebody else purchased, and they were
No
like,
way.
"Why did you send me Concord?" It's like it's just a box with a disc,
Yeah, I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen news reports about the controller, the special controller that Sony did that was going. I remember seeing it in stock the day of that announcement, and then like later that day, it was sold out. I was like, wow, yeah, crazy. It's a cool looking controller for sure, but
definitely going to be a collector's item. And because we'll get into it, but it's like I can't truly think of a game at this tier that has failed so colossally. And we were talking about it on Twitter, and it's like we can say the day before because they were out for 4 days, and they're like, "Yeah, we're shutting down," but there were red flags for months and months and months and months. I remember seeing people actually even longer than that, kind of highlighting the day before and how it's totally a scam. And guess what? That's definitely a scam.
Yeah. Because everyone's harping on the player numbers, stuff like that, but it truly was stunning how low it was. And we'll get into it, but I was able to get into matches pretty easily. I'm sure there's people like me that picked it up, but
yeah, I think you probably have a surgeons because I heard a lot of people were chasing after platinums.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have more than a few days to get this platinum. I better put in the time. And so, yeah, I think I get it. I think it makes sense in that regards. We're talking about it last week on the pod before, obviously, the news that they're shutting it down is that chat was kind of weighing in on the average amount of wait time, roughly like a minute. Some people were reporting higher wait times. And I don't know if you have the ability to turn on or off cross play, but I was like, that could maybe have an effect where if you're like, no, I don't want to cross play, then it doesn't, then obviously you have a smaller pool of potential matches that can pop in.
Yeah, you can turn it off, but I don't know why you would want to in this scenario. And
you just have endless amounts of time to sit around and wait.
Yeah, and with like the refunding of the game, people were jumping into like my chat and stuff saying that Steam was automatically like yanking the game from people and giving them their money back, which why don't you just wait until today to do that? Why are you just have 3 days to enjoy the game? So didn't see a lot of PC players. There was always like maybe one in every squad every so often, but it was mostly PlayStation folks. So
that checks out. Let's see here. Let's see if it's she. It's like, is there anybody still on right now? All right. Hey, well, at least if nothing else, 39. I wonder, you remember what was it? It was like on a PS4. It was by Kojima.
Yeah, PT.
PT. And it's like they had, and then people were trying to remove that license or take it away. And so people were selling those PS4s for a while. Like it's got PT on it. And that in and of itself was, I guess, an opposite thing where Konami was like, hey, we have a really good game that people were really excited about. Let's not continue.
No, and this is like a larger conversation just with like game preservation, digital rights ownership, things like that. Ironically, I connected with someone from IGN just recently playing this game, Concord, and they were telling me they still had their PS4, like original PS4 with PT on it, because again, like not only did they remove it from download, but like you couldn't even re-download it too. Like, sometimes they'll take a game off the store, but hey, if you bought the game, you can re-download it, things like that. And they were like, they took it even off of that like back end server function. And so like they had to keep it on their PS4, like from 2015 or whatever, when the demo went up. And I was like, dang. But yeah, because in terms of eBay, I'm sure those listings go for crazy prices, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
But and then we're gonna get, I guess Kojima is going back to the horror well with OD on Xbox. So,
and he's also like recently announced, I think it was it this year, that he wants to get back in kind of that technical espionage, and so we're building something like that, which I think would be truly exciting to see. I never ever ended up playing the fifth one, I guess
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, the fifth
that
one.
game is.
I heard it was incredible. I got it for free as a Games with Gold, and so like I've just never sat down and played it, and that's one of the things that I really hope to correct. What's going on, Chrono?
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Chrono. Nice to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think this is gonna be a pretty exciting show. Assuming we don't run long, we'll also do another episode of 20 questions. So for Jim, good. You know it immediately. There's been a handful of like, what are we doing? It's like, okay, there is a game in my brain, and you got to try to ask questions and whittle it down to get the answer. Disney says Metal Gear Solid 5 Fan of Pain was pretty great. Like that's what I remember seeing it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get around to it. I might have the timeline completely incorrect, so I don't know how long the game's been out, but it very well be possible that's when I started having kids, and I just ended up like, okay, well, I have to set something down, because I played all the other Metal Gear Solids. I love that series, and I own the game, and now I just go like, oh man, like is that on GeForce Now? Like it's like maybe that will be what helps.
Still one of my favorite gameplay, like just the way the gameplay is designed. Like it feels so good to run around in those open zones, open world. And they never followed up on it. Like it's so sad. Yeah.
Well, that's like when the split happened, Konami kind of was like, we're going more into, casino, games, and we're going to sit on this IP that everybody's like, maybe somebody will just buy them or something, like in order to get another Castlevania, in order to get another Metal Gear Solid, like I'm now rooting for another acquisition of which that somebody could come and be like, we bought the IP, and then we went over to Kojima and said, "What here? Let's move. Let's continue on what was set down years ago."
Man, I remember when Konami teased like some really cool animation for Snake, and it turned out to just be a graphic for the latest pachinko machine.
Yeah, because
the community was lit up, mad, dude. It was so funny.
Because I think it was Snake Eater related. Speaking of which, with the remake coming, because people are kind of, I don't want to say mad, but because it's like a more faithful remake of the actual original gameplay, people are like going back to MGS5, like that gameplay is so perfect, and it's like, oh, why didn't you adapt that? But I think they don't want to like mess with the Kojima magic too much, because they know people are going to come after him regardless of the quality of the game on that end. So
I think it's just almost too impossible to follow that up. Imagine stepping into the role where like, we want you to make Metal Gear Solid 6, insert, like creator here that's not Kojima. Like, okay, how do you not, bastardize the work, and at the same time, like not necessarily be crushed by the weight of what's come before, because that if they could work with Kojima, they would. So there's definitely a money budget problem. So it's like, hey, we're sending you out there to die. It's like, maybe you'll knock it out of the park.
I feel like we're at the point though where Kojima's name was selling the game just as much as the Metal Gear name itself.
Kojima's name sells games. Like,
yeah, and so like we saw what happened when Metal Gear Survive. Do we remember that? Oh, oof! So I wish they would try to continue. I saw something the other day about rumors that MGS4 is gonna be ported or remade in some capacity.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. And I've never played that one because it's locked on the PS3, so I'm excited to give that a go. My only exposure to that game is the Mega 64 video. That's like riffing on how long the cutscenes are. So
you're basically watching a movie.
Yeah, got my popcorn ready.
That tends to feel like kind of apt for a lot of those kind of games, though. Like there's a lot of games that it's like was this a movie the whole time with little trinkets of gameplay? Like, all right, like, cool. Like, wow, that's a long ass movie. I mean, and to be fair, like, that's one of the big motivating factors within the Final Fantasy series, especially with, like, I want to get to the next cutscene. I want to see what happens next. Okay, I'm going to go do all these things that are going to like try to push that forward and move me along. So yeah. Like, an interesting thing to note. I had popped out the chat and then I was like, I'm going to zoom out on the browser for just kind of, the YouTube thing, and it shrunk the chat dramatically.
You don't need that.
I'm trying to formulate a thought and see. I see Worldwide Warrior of Light has entered the chat. I don't know. He's saying something foul. Oh no, he's not. He's just saying good morning. Like, oh man, watch your filthy mouth. Oh man, what else are you guys playing right now? Like, we wait for Chris to get on in here.
A lot of Concord, obviously.
Jumping off the map.
Oh, that's so funny. Like, hey, whatever it takes, man, to get that platinum. I get it. I tried to get the platinum, and the first day I was like, I'm looking at the list. I'm like, this is like pretty easy, because it's like pretty basic of like, get 10 kills or get to level 10 with this character, get 50 kills with this character. And I'm like, that's like not too bad. And then you play the game and you're like, I only got 5 kills with this character. I have to do 10 matches if I'm lucky with that. And it adds up. And the leveling is like a little grindy, but obviously they intended that game to not last 2 weeks. So totally understand that. So I think if you look at it holistically, the trophy list isn't that bad, but I got roughly like, I think my percentage is like 40% just in 3 days of playing.
Oh, wow.
But like, it's like 17, it's like a little less than half percentage wise. So it's like 40% in terms of actual trophy completion because of the valuing of gold and silver, things like that. So, yeah, I definitely could have done it in a month for sure, if just chipping away, but didn't have the time.
2 weeks. You get 2 weeks.
Knowing if it was 2 weeks, I would have picked it up day one and gone back and played it a little bit every day. And
I wonder if people know, like, this is going to be a limited release, like a 2 week. You have 2 weeks to play this game and it's gone forever. Like, if it didn't just then become a huge hit.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out now.
Is that the line for Sony? Is like, look, you have 2 weeks to make sales. If not, we're putting the axe on it. I
mean, after $200 million, I think that's more than fair to at least.
No. I'm not saying that they were wrong. I'm not saying anything other than, like, I wonder if the same logic applies to their other releases, because they've really had at least mid like hit releases for the last couple of years, where it's like they're going to get sales. The game may not have longevity, but they're going to get sales. So
they need to get that.
Robert's doing the Lord's work out there, winning in and saving a bunch of the lore from the game last night. So some internet historians out there keeping.
Concord Wiki is going to be very busy.
There is also, like, they still have the show planned for the Amazon, like, kind of
secret level
series, because like I heard about that first because New World Eternum is going to have an episode in this series. I was like, oh, interesting. I'm going to check that out. And then it's like, oh, these other games. I'm like, oh, this actually sounds like it could be pretty interesting. And then Concord, it's like, and it's so funny because do you guys remember Cyberpunk, the animated Netflix series? With The Witcher, like those two series, and then you just see a direct boost, a direct correlation.
Fallout saw the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as that series launched on Amazon, and they put the games on sale, that was a very smart move. But yeah, you saw the Fallout 76 had like the biggest player count it had ever seen when the series launched, which was insane.
Yeah, a lot of boosting with 4, obviously, but then even going back to like 3 in New Vegas and things like that, like the older titles, like, yeah. I mean, that Fallout show was so good. I can't wait for season 2.
I haven't seen that yet. I don't know. We tend to start shows and not finish them here in this house. And like, all right, we got to finish Tokyo Vice before I
heard that. Well, I heard, the thing with Amazon is I like this, but I get it if people aren't about this. Like, the episode runtimes for Amazon shows are so long. Like if you're watching The Boys, Fallout, it's like an hour plus every time,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm grateful for, because you have the inverse with like The Mandalorian season 3, and like the finale for season 3 was like 37 minutes, and I'm like, yo, if I'm watching a prestige show, I need at least 50 minutes.
It felt like a bonus episode rather than a season finale. It's like, oh, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, chat's talking about Deadlock, and Izzy G says, Deadlock is a level of addicting that I haven't experienced since OG Overwatch's launch. Are you guys following Deadlock? I think I've had people try to get me in and playing it.
I've played a couple. It's fun. It feels early. Like it feels early access. It feels like they have an idea. It kind of reminds me of like the old TF2 days. Playing Deadlock kind of feels like how TF2 used to feel before the hat-based economy. You know, like before all of that. It's neat. I like it. I need to play more of it before I can really have an educated opinion. But it is fun. It's got a cool premise.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but I've watched a lot of people stream it. Does it have controller support? I don't actually.
I need to find out because I'm terrible at mouse and keyboard.
Same. That's like my biggest fear.
I have become such like, I feel like a snob when it comes to like, hey, will you play this game? I was like, if I can play it on this and I can play it on GeForce Now, I will purchase your game. If I cannot do both of those things, I'm gonna wait. Just like my GeForce Now library has just exploded with so many great games. I recently just let everybody know, picked up Vision of Mana. Yeah, and I love the Mana series, right? And I'm going to tell you, because like Mark asked me directly, because I was like, hey, I'm playing the Mana. He's like, what do you think? I was like, well, I love it for the Mana side. Please note, don't kill me, don't blame me. But coming off of Wukong and Souls-like action RPGs, I was like, there is a clear difference in style. And I'm like, I've kind of just discovered a new love for these Souls-like games where I'm just like, okay, let's go. All right, Chris, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I was running a little late.
You're good.
Dressed a little nicer today. going into corporate, so I have to act like it.
All right. Well, let's make sure we don't keep Chris late. We're going to run our intro. Thanks for everybody hanging out for a little pre-show here. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a fun time. And if Chris, you do, I don't know what time you need to leave. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. I'm like,
I'm all dressed.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I don't have shoes on, but we're good.
Who needs shoes? Who needs shoes? All right, guys, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crystal Core Radio. We've got a roundtable here and a lot to discuss. We're welcoming Jim Tacey back to the podcast, the #1 Concord streamer on Twitch right now. And we're going to be talking about Concord. I'm going to be letting him tell you guys of all the great stuff that he's doing. We got GamingKinda in the house. We also got Chrono back. There's been a lot this week. It's always funny. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but as I kind of plan out and try to line out the shows and see what's going on, it's like, yeah, after every show we do, I go, I don't really know what I want to talk about next week. And then typically by Monday or Tuesday, it's like, I don't know how we're going to fit all this in. That's how 2024 has felt. It's felt pretty daggum insane. But let's go around the horn. Jim, show's yours, man. Welcome. Tell people what you got going on.
Yeah, so I stream pretty much every day on Twitch. Jim Tacey, a lot of shooters, battle royales, but if a game like Concord, catches my eye, I got to jump in and check it out. So we do a little bit of variety as well. Yeah.
Will you have missed a single day of Concord being live?
I bought it when they announced the shutdown, so I've only been playing it for 3 days.
Okay.
But
I know the timing. Yeah. There are people who have the rare opportunity of saying, I played that game every single day it was live.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to worry about life getting in the way because it was like 15 of them. So they did it.
Record.
Well, good. Did you like Concord?
I like that game. I like Concord a lot. I'm not saying it's the best game ever made. I can see why it failed, but it's a fun time. I'm enjoying it.
We're going to get into more of that. Let's go to Chrono, man. What is going on with you, sir?
Daily streams of Fortnite or Splatoon lately. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've just been suckered in on the latest season of Fortnite, and Marvel will bring me back every single time. I will pick it back up. That's been pretty much it.
Marvel is going to be is an interesting kind of tie-in, because that's what I said about Concord when they showed it off. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then they followed it up with another Overwatch, but with Marvel. And I go, that actually looked way better.
Oh, that one looks fun. I tried to get in the beta. So every time they had the drops up for Twitch, I was like, all right, I'm going to get in. And then it was impossible. So I'm waiting for the full release now that we have a date. And I'm going to play that because I played the crap out of Overwatch when it launched. I tried to like Overwatch 2 as much as I did, back when it was a paid experience. But yeah, I'm pumped for Marvel Rivals. It looks great.
GamingKinda, shows yours, man. What you been doing?
The guys that I play Age of Empires with once a week got into this tabletop RPG app called Dawncaster. And it's a premium mobile game. So like they've tried to give like a premium experience. As a matter of fact, they do a really cool thing where they did a crossover with another game just because it was good, just to shout it out. They're like, we're in a space that we know quality is not always guaranteed. And so like I sat in front of my computer and in front of my consoles multiple times going, after one more round, I'm going to play, I guess, like real games, and just sat here and just played Dawncaster like an embarrassing number of hours this week. So if you're somebody who likes $5 mobile apps, I had a blast. It's a single player, like roguelike deck building game. So you're just building this deck and you're taking it on until you die. Now, my friends that have already played it are like, each time I get to a point, I'm like, how far am I into this like storyline? And they're like, you're doing great, go further. So they won't spoil it for me. So I don't know if it's beatable or not. I don't know what I don't know. But I got the furthest I've ever gotten. I got to what felt like a huge boss last night. I got him to 9 life, and then my deck failed me. And
that sounds cool.
It was delightful. I'm having a blast.
Check that out.
That sounds great, dude. That sounds really good. Yeah, I tend to avoid the mobile kind of games, and so for me,
there's no microtransactions.
Right. Well, it's not a microtransaction thing. I don't. Maybe it's a form factor thing. I don't know if anybody else kind of has that same. I don't like the tactile feel of it, but that's where it's like the Steam Deck and the like the handhelds, etc. Like, because Balatro, like that's one of the games. It's roguelike card building. Game that I was like, I really recommend that one, and that's also on Steam.
That one just
I don't know if it's on Steam as well. But I got a nail in my sidewall this week, so I got to go get new tires, which was really cool and like exactly what I wanted my bank account to do. And Dawncaster came with me.
Anybody who can detect.
It was delightful. It was like great, and they're like, "Well, your tires are pretty worn out anyway." I was like, "I knew that, but I knew I had like 3 to 6 months." Well, you just want to do the one? I was like, no, I don't want to do any of them.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of them.
Tires, I always, it's such a thing because they are so expensive, and yet it's not like you ever
don't go cheap.
You don't but don't go cheap. But also, it's not like, hey, guys, you gotta come over and see my new tires. Like,
yeah.
I've heard anybody invite me over to check the new tires.
The largest purchase you can make that I don't have a picture of in my phone. I'm not like, oh wow, here they are. They're tires like they were before.
Exactly.
They do ride quieter than the ones that were almost worn out, and definitely better than the ones with the nail in them.
Yeah.
Way to go, tire companies. You're doing good things.
Way to make that rubber
better without a nail in it.
All right. Speaking of melting tires, in this case, a big one this week, Concord. We kind of teased it earlier with the intro to the podcast. Coming in, I think there was a lot of red flags. That was one of the things a lot of people were watching. We talked about it briefly last week on the podcast, where people were weighing in with their match times, because the numbers where we've heard, and I'm curious about y'all's thoughts here, when we look at Steam charts as a heat map, it can paint a picture. It doesn't paint the whole picture, but it can give us some insights as to generally what's happening. Sony knocked it out of the park, I think, this year with Helldivers 2. They've only stepped on their own feet a couple of times. That's natural, right? I'm not dogging them for that. That's just, okay, you messed up, you figure it out, you adjust. Concord obviously puts them at a 50-50 this year in their games of service kind of game. The number that he keeps coming back up, and I talked about this in a recent video, 84% of the money that is generated in gaming comes from games as a service games. 16% comes from traditional sales. There is no way that we're going to see these companies make a hard pivot away from chasing that 84%. Still, also, Sony, I think, contributes really well to that 16%. That's they're in that category. They're trying to catch the big bag here. What do you guys think? Let's start with Jim.
Yeah, it's an interesting just discussion, because just to like zoom out, like when they announced it, like fully at the State of Play or whatever a few months ago, it looked really uninspired. I was like, okay, like it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy energy mixed with Overwatch. Like, I don't know if I want to invest all my time in this game. But and they seem to do no marketing at all. So, so many people that were like coming to like my stream or just like talking about it online, they're like, I didn't even know this game was like out, or like, what is this game? Like they had no idea what was going on. So it's just a fascinating. I can't wait for the Jason Schreier article that breaks down every, misstep of this game. But yeah, once you dive into it, like there's some good meat on the bones. Like I really had a good time playing it. I think it actually shuts down in 20 minutes. So get your games and soon. But
40%, you said in the pre-show, you made it 40% of your way to the platinum in 3 days, which that is a heck of an impressive amount of game time, sir.
Yeah. It was like 5 hours
right now.
Smart.
Yeah, but 5 hours pretty much every day. So but yeah, it was super cool. I reconnected with an old college buddy. I found him in the match and I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that name. So we reconnected on that, played with some influencers and stuff like that, because everyone was jumping on trying to get some games in before it goes away. And so
this is all just a giant mess. They've actually driven sales to the point that they're going to announce it's no longer canceled. You've uncanceled it, guys.
It's like the Morbius strat with Sony, right? So
yeah,
bring it back.
Time.
I agree with your premise that it just didn't look inspired. There's been a lot of people ready to toss blame on various aspects of the game.
Mm-hmm.
The number one I see is the go woke, go broke, but like Blizzard has a giant DEI arm, and so Overwatch is substantially more, I guess, self-aware of that aspect of gaming than this is.
Yeah,
and that has not stopped Overwatch. So like
Deadlock
what stopped
too,
Overwatch
right
was
the
Overwatch 2 debacle and all of that. Like it took much bigger things to slow it down. I think what Ginger Prime was saying rings more true, that like traditional sales are not where this medium takes place. So to take a derivative work that is somehow inspired by, but not in a way that is inspiring, like it's not like, oh wow, this really brings it home in a new and inventive way. You've somehow like watered down what everybody else is doing in the space and then put it behind a paywall, is a weird choice, when the monetary model, as much as gamers may say, why don't they just sell me the game and do no microtransactions? That's what the universal sentiment is on forums. The kinds of gamers that take the time to log into forums and leave comments, that's what they say. But in reality, our wallets tell a very different story. Mm-hmm. Our wallets say, I'm not going to pay for a game that I can't try, and I'm not going to support you until I'm in your ecosystem. So microtransactions work. Whether we like them or not, they are here to stay, because that's
that genie
how we spend money.
That genie ain't going in the bottle. Go ahead.
I had a hard stop years ago. Like, I'm not paying $10 for a Fortnite skin. And then now it's like, do I need the V-Bucks this week? I don't think so. Like I've
if you hook up your direct deposit,
right. Like, can I just start like donating plasma directly to Epic Games now?
Chrono's family actually had us contacted me to get him on the podcast, and this is a whole intervention, like under disguise.
The
like,
there's no banner.
Chrono, you gotta unhook the card. You just gotta disconnect it.
No, but like it's so true though, because like even the way Overwatch 2 has just kind of like, it hasn't taken off. It's not anywhere near what it was during the Overwatch 1 days. But Blizzard found a way to just go, hey, we could just keep making the game go and keep adding content without having to rely on single purchases. It's like, just buy the battle pass every season, buy the skins. We can keep making the game. Like it's a model that you can't ignore anymore. It's been this way for a few years now.
And the game has to be good, just to make it clear.
That's
First
the other
and
thing.
foremost, like go back to like Harry Potter scandal. Well, what are people going to do? Are they going to boycott the game? I don't know. Is the game good?
Right.
Like, before we even talk about morality and money and all these other things, the very first bar to clear is the game has to be fun.
Well, and I think that's where that reveal from the state of play, the way the state of play revealed the game with this really pretty cutscene that was like, okay, there's a lot of vibrant colors. The characters are kind of interesting. I'm not fully sold on the designs. There's some comedy. I see what they're going for. And then that hard break to the gameplay was actually pretty jarring for me, because if they were showing this running on even a high-end PC, I just thought the visuals weren't there, and it could have been an early build of the game, whatever. But then you see the gameplay that they're showing, and it's like, okay, it's Overwatch, but why would I play this over a game I already have the hours invested into? And so then you realize very quickly they totally missed the mark. And I just think it's a consequence of how long development takes. They missed the mark. Like, they were too late to the party.
The Sasano in chat says that they disagree regarding the majority of microtransaction games. It's only a very small percentage of them that earn. I think overall, like, we definitely are talking about the winners. Fortnite is a clear winner in that space. But Chris's point is still valid. Like, if you put a extra barrier in front of people, that's just another step in the hurdle. And I've always kind of equated gamers to what I call lightning. Lightning, electricity, it's the path of least resistance. That is the rule that electricity follows. So if you have something that is fun, that you are enjoying, to get you to step out of that comfort zone, it's actually a much bigger deal. It takes a lot more work. That's why you end up seeing one of the other stats that we didn't share earlier on is that the majority of the games in this games as a service are over 6 years old. Everybody here in and of itself, has at least one,
why play new game when old game fun?
And you can paywall.
Keep it simple.
You can paywall any game that doesn't take a community. So, something like a Baldur's Gate 3, where, it doesn't matter if it's a slow rise to growth. You just have a certain amount of money to bang back eventually. But in a multiplayer game, you need that community. And so there do have to be some people there who probably never will spend money. So I'm playing, the game I talked about at the top of the show is a paywall game. That's probably going to slow their growth, but it doesn't really matter. Like, if their growth is 2 years from now or their growth is now, it doesn't matter. But the moment the story gets out, hey, there's a game that's identical to the game you're already playing, and the rumor is that the match times are long, just the rumor. How do you come back from that? It has to be really good or really inventive. Okay, well, is it doing something unique? No, it's pretty much the same thing.
And that's the curse right now of AAA, right? Like, you look at Concord and then you look at Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2, we'd all classify that AA title. But what that also was a smaller team with a focused idea, and they didn't have so much overhead. And to kind of push back on what I see with the woke and anti-woke discussion that it happens, especially around this, because the anti-woke are absolutely using this as a lap in victory. The woke are completely like, no, this is not what it is. But it completely, I think, devoids the argument that ultimately, like, what is a good, fun game? Because people will bring up Baldur's Gate 3 as an example of a woke game, or Overwatch. I don't think the issue is that people have an issue if a game is woke or is not woke. They have an issue if the game is, I'm trying to think of the word, starts with a T. Tokenism, where it's just like, if your key defining characteristic is that you're a diverse character, not a good character, not something that we're interested in, but your key defining moment. And that's something that I've pushed back online, because I think that could be a part that is contributed. But there is obviously the online discourse where it all boils down into two teams, where it's like, woke is anything I don't like. And that is essentially where the Twitter takes it and runs with it.
Yeah, it's just to that point. Like, I think, we've already got, like, we've seen good character design with, either side of politics, thrown in there, and those games are, semi-successful or really successful. I mean, I saw somebody brought up Apex in the chat earlier. I mean, Apex Legends, like that, if you want to talk about like woke, most of those characters would fall into that category one way or the other, and the game is still fun. Well, it used to be. I really
can't even picture the DEI elements of that game. What I can picture is it was the first time I'd played anything like that.
Right. Like,
and it just worked. As soon as I got in the lobby, I didn't get dropped. I didn't have lag issues. There weren't people like cheating. Like I just hopped in and I played the game, and I was bad at it because I was bad at it. And as I got better, I got better at it. And so like it was just a fun gameplay loop. At the end of every round, I was like, oh, I could do that better. And I just hopped in again and again and again.
Right. And that's where that game is successful. So I think the political arguments aside, because they really are a much smaller component to the whole game. I will lean on they just took way too long to put this game out. If this had come out even 3 years ago, I think it would have probably seen much more success, or at least lasting longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I think they originally concepted this like 8 years ago. Everyone's online saying, "Oh, 8 years of game development," but it really was probably like 6 or 4, and that was still kind of like prime Overwatch time. And going back to like game development, you just can't take too long to make a game nowadays, not only from a financial perspective, but just an audience engagement perspective too. And so, I don't know if we're going to talk about Astrobot, but like that game was like super quick turnaround, small dev team, not a huge investment, and it's going to get great reviews and probably sell, a ton.
It's the game that I'm going to purchase as soon as I as soon as I get my Twitch payout. Like that's I'm excited about Astrobot. My kids haven't caught wind of it yet, so I'm waiting for them to see if they come back from school today going like, "Hey Dad, we got to get Astrobot." Absolutely.
Last time I heard of it was like 2 days ago. What is this game? Like and how fast did it turn around?
Fast. Like we're talking 3-year dev time.
Yeah.
And it's like all accounts that you see is that it is of the Mario Galaxy kind of caliber.
It ticks the boxes for me. Bright and colorful, adorable character designs, and looks like a fantastic platformer. Like that'll suck.
I want something so cute. I'm just angry that I'm not good at it.
Well, the challenge there is perfect too, because I haven't played Astrobot yet, but Playroom on the PS5, like the pack-in title, it was like just challenging enough to make you sweat a little bit on a few of the puzzles, but like most of the time you're just kind of vibing and just walking through. But then it had that speedrun element too. I'm assuming Astrobot has a speedrunning element too, and so it was fun to like try to master those levels and go back and have some replayability to it, because that game was even shorter. But yeah, I think this one's like 10 hours to beat, 15 for the plat.
And that's a really good thing to bring up, because I've seen some of the online discussion shift to start to expect $70 games that are roughly around 10 hours. And we've already seen a lot of pushback for $70 games, because I've argued that it isn't actually that the price went up $10. People have the feeling, whether it's true or not, that the quality of the games have come down. The innovation of the games have come down. The price has only gone up. And so that gap in and of itself is starting to widen. And when we're seeing these $40 games come in and finding astronomical success, it is in that ability to pivot. I think one game that's absolutely on the horizon that I'm really looking forward to is Light No Fire, the first truly open world game where they're rendering an entire planet. And I'm like, okay, I hope it's fun, but that in and of itself is being made by a team of 12 people. Yeah. I'm thinking we're seeing, that the AAA right now is suffering because it has become too costly to maintain. And because of that cost, you have to cut risk. And turns out risk is what makes these games fun. And of course, we're only talking about the winners, right? The game comes out, dibs out, and is gone. Yeah, you took a risk and it didn't pay out. But the ones who do, the ones who truly make waves right now, I think, are the smaller teams, is the AA. And that's where I'm seeing that. That's where I'm seeing the growth this year. Next year could be a whole nother story. AAA could come back in and say, yep, we figured out our problems. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I totally agree. I mean, this is a bit of a pivot, but it's the same thing happening with the movie industry right now too. It's like they're investing so much money into these movies and then they don't hit. And it's like a huge problem, talking about, I guess, tying back into games, Borderlands, right? Like that movie was so expensive and it bombed so hard. That movie's not that bad actually, but it's not great, but that's a whole nother discussion. But
my understanding was that a lot of the humor was very dated in that movie. And that's another one that, like, if they had just been able to release it when the jokes were relevant, when the script was relevant, it probably would have hit different.
Yeah. Cause I think they started filming that like years ago.
Yeah.
When did the last Borderlands game release?
2019. Oh, Wonderlands was 2022, right? So that's kind of a Borderlands game.
So, because I just know that like my brother-in-law got like his one night out. Him and his wife only go see a movie maybe once or twice a year. Got their one night out from the kids. Didn't know what Borderlands was. Didn't know it was a video game.
Oh no!
Didn't know. And that was their one night out.
Oh,
no!
Can we,
And
like,
they got it
call
last
mulligan
minute.
on that one?
So tickets were sold out on Deadpool and everything that was like renowned, and tickets were still available. And so they went and saw Borderlands, and he said he didn't laugh a single time.
Oof.
Julie and
Just
I
sat
went
all
to
the way
see, I forget, it was like an Adam Sandler movie a long time ago. And we actually walked out of the movie. And it's like, that is rare for me to do because I really do enjoy movies. Deadpool and Wolverine, absolute banger. Anybody wants to go see it, hit me up. I will go out and I'll figure out how to get babysitting for the kids to see that again. But yeah, I was like, the thing that worked out in my favor, especially with Deadpool and Wolverine, is not only did it come out on my birthday, but I took Julie, our last movie that we got to go see was Napoleon. So I was like, you I'm picking Deadpool and Wolverine. And we had a heck of a great freaking time.
Heck
That's
yeah.
awesome. But yeah, it's very similar, I think, to the movie. That's a good point. Just when you've got these big budgets that are just exploding, you see, and it's no wonder, it's no surprise then that like the indie side is doing so well. And I don't know, the health of the indie movement as a whole, if it's good, but you see these really good games come from indie studios that are 1 to 8 people maybe working on something, and it comes out super focused, because that's what we keep coming back to, is when we focus in on what makes it good, we end up with a better product. And other than like behemoths like Call of Duty that can just be giant budget games every year because of the name, which I think even the clock's ticking on Call of Duty at this point. Like there's going to be a point where they're going to have to pull it back to some major degree, because it's going to cost way too much, and the asking price is going to be ridiculous.
Phil Spencer said he didn't want it to be annual. So when they took over, he wanted to get away from that, not as like an immediate pivot, but he's like, I do want to go in and understand why.
That's not the first time that we've heard that either. Like I think a few years ago, Infinity Ward was like, oh, we're gonna step back from the annual releases, and then it turned out, oh, we just make too much money. And Papa Activision was like, no, keep cranking it out.
I don't know. Is this year's going to be in Game Pass?
Yeah,
I'm not even going to get my annual money.
Yeah,
even in the times I have bought Call of Duties back to back, I'll just
I'm definitely checking out this year's only because it's hitting Game Pass. Yeah,
the beta was nice.
So much fun.
The beta was nice.
Campers have figured everything out.
Yeah, I didn't play
before
the
like
beta. I
the
didn't have time.
settled into just some garbage. Like, the opening week is just chaos.
It's all the Omni movement. It's already nuts, dude. People are.
I hear people complaining about it.
Snipes and stuff like that. Speaking
I
of
do wish they'd make one without a sniper. Like I don't know if the game would just not sell, but like just make. You got one every year. Just make one Call of Duty. no snipers.
So
none. Just
sniper, no
try
sniper.
it out and see if the toxic people trying to push the rest of us out.
They could seriously just do a mode of just like mid-range weapons, and I would be fine with that. Like
I'm just saying, competitive play bans or restricts snipers in the vast majority of shooters. It heavily restricts them. Like they're a power weapon, or they're unique. Like they don't just let a whole team run around quick sniping.
Yeah.
And then you go in as a casual player, and like, yeah, prepare to just eat rocks. Like, it's just...
I'm actually kind of looking forward to playing COD because I'm not paying for it. Like I already have been. I have Game Pass. It wasn't going to be a game I was going to go out and purchase, but I'm like,
either.
Great. I play these for what, like 50, 100 hours a year. With friends, we were talking about in our text chat, Chris, and I'm like, yeah, let's play some COD. Like, okay.
I gotta say the campaign looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, I love
I haven't played
whole
the campaign in
90s
years.
conspiracy. Like, it pulled me in. And that's what I liked about the Black Ops like 1 and 2 stories. Is it's just off the wall conspiracy theories. Just I enjoy that kind of stuff.
$1 per hour. And as much as I don't like that Call of Duty is an annualized franchise, I will keep buying them annually, which is why they do it, because I'm always going to get more than 60 hours out of a Call of Duty. Always.
Yeah.
I would,
if for no other reason, I'll just pick it back up and do props later. Like all these old delightful game modes they add.
I would love to see them really just kind of detach the campaign development from and release schedule from multiplayer entirely, and just put it in its own product.
MTX.
And then have Call of Duty the service come out and just be whatever seasonal updates, because I think there is a lot of complaint about, okay, well, Modern Warfare 3 came out and there's this set of maps and modes and everything. And then now Black Ops is coming out. All that other stuff doesn't matter anymore. And everything you've built up and paid for might carry over. It might not, depending on the licensing for some of the skins and whatever. And so now, you build up this stuff every year and then it's gone with the next release. And so hopefully we could see a shift in that, because that would kind of offset this cost $70 this year. The campaign could still be $70 if it's really good.
Support it like an MMO, or support it like Rocket League or something like that.
Exactly.
Where the cosmetics just carry and carry and carry and carry. I'll buy mounts in a MMO. I will not buy mounts in a Call of Duty, or the equivalent. I will not buy skins in Call of Duty, and that's because
they go away.
They go away.
Yeah.
In 12, literally, I don't want to buy them in a game I don't know if I like. So I'm going to play for 3 or 4 months to decide if this is really going to be something I'm going to play the whole year, or if I'm going to end up putting it down. And now I'm finally ready to go, okay, I really like this game, and I've put more than my $1 per hour, so I'm ready to support them. Oh, wait, this goes away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
No, not at all.
Now, we brought up game prices, and Susano says this: can gamers even afford games? I think the other part of that equation, because I stated this, I'm very fortunate. I if I wanted to go buy a game, if I wanted to buy Astrobot today, I don't have to wait till my Twitch payout, right? I could go spend the money and I can download it. The thing I don't have is time to really play these games. That's the other piece of the puzzle. So even though my Steam library is sadly crazy big, when am I going to actually sit down and make the time to play these games? And that, I think, has a knock-on effect, because I would argue I'm not alone in that. Unless you're a full-time content creator looking to stream all the time, you can put in crazy amounts of time in games. A lot of gamers, I think, are looking at the cost, looking at the time, and then saying it better be worth it. Better be worth it. If it's not the top tier, if it's not, super popular, I've got other things I got to do. Do you guys feel that this year?
At every stage in life, I've had the time or the money. The only time I got close to both was when I was a few years of full-time content creation. And I will tell you, it was a lot more time than money. So, that's just the nature of it. Now I chose to go back into industry, and so I'm making more money than I was doing content creation. But then the time's gone. I've been running on games as $1 per hour since I was about 16, ignoring inflation, right? I saw apples for $3 the other day. So and I continue to rate my games at $1 per hour. So can people afford games? Yes, the evidence is there in the overwhelming sales. Does that mean unilaterally all people can afford games at all stages of life? Absolutely not. There are times where I have been broke, and there are people that have been substantially less fortunate than even my lowest moments. But generally, yes, there are people to buy games. As just a general statement, it just means but I can't buy all of these games, right?
Right.
That's the problem with something like a Concord. That's I can't buy all of them. For me to say, okay, I'm going to buy Call of Duty, that's fine. But then that's not also buying Astrobot, and also buying Baldur's Gate, and also buying War Within. Oh, wait, they want some big collector's edition. Oh, wait, I just bought Final Fantasy. Oh, Guild Wars. At some point, all of us have a breaking point on
Guild
time.
Wars sneaks up on you, though. Guild Wars is it's absolutely quiet. They're like, we dropped an expansion today, guys. All right, great. Thank you.
You weren't doing anything.
You didn't catch that? It's patch number 1300986A. There's no notes posted. It's great content, but come on.
Yeah.
I gotta get back into some Guild Wars. I think that's gonna be something I look at sometime after the New World of Turnham drops. I'm really just looking forward to seeing how the numbers play out for that upcoming game, because is it a reborn moment? Console support, well, people said they wanted to play it on console. Will they show up for it? Is the dev team gonna follow it up with any meaningful content? I don't.
I'm glad you follow it. It is like a game that is constantly in its 0.2 patch. It always feels like, guys, we're ready. We're on a good base now. We're going to discover our identity starting next patch. Continuously.
The next one, I swear.
I'm glad you follow it, because every time there's something new coming out, I never know. And then Ginger's fully aware of it.
So, yeah. Well, a handful of games. There's things that I'm I've just got to set that down. I know I'm not going to. And that's coming back into kind of the Concord discussion, especially because how online discourse has been. There's a lot of things that people are going to be mad about or they're excited about. And I'm not, if I don't have general interest in the game in the first place, Assassin's Creed Shadows on the horizon. Will it sell well? Everybody's kind of waiting to see. Like, I'm not going to be mad about choices that in a game that I don't play as a franchise. I'm not going to sit here and try to like farm anybody for that kind of stuff. But I see the chatter that it does pop up from time to time. Taking that kind of perspective, though, looking at the rest of 2024, Jim, what are your thoughts? Like, where do you see this year kind of ending up, especially when we start talking about potential game of the year contenders? Concord clearly not going to make that cut. If it does, it's rigged. It's like, well, might as well just confirm this hardcore. Way to go, Jeffrey. But what do you think about the rest of 2024 as we wind this year down?
I'm pretty excited for the rest of the slate. I think it's about to pick up. I mean, probably won't get any GOTY noms, but I'm really excited about Marvel vs. Capcom collection. I'm not a fighting game guy, but I'm a Marvel guy, so I jump into that.
And skipping Xbox, which was news, we broke that to Chris.
It's coming. It's coming now. Next year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They finally figured out whatever their issue was.
Tell Ginger he doesn't watch my own news program. So
I do miss that update. I apologize. Oh, that's good news, but it's still also this weird delay.
The tweet was weird. The tweet was weird. They were like, after consulting with our technical team, we've determined that we can release the game on Xbox coming 2025. Yeah. So it felt like, hey, we didn't have the port ready for whatever reason, but enough people wanted it. We can make it happen.
Yeah. I'm thrilled now because I will pick that. I love that game. Just like I actually was the Street Fighter guy, but also the Marvel vs. Capcom top freaking tier. Like that defines my 14, 15-year-old self.
I just want to listen to the menu music. That's all.
Oh, perfect. Well, and then with the Capcom Fighting Collection next year as well, I think that should be day and date with Xbox and PlayStation because that was slated for 2025 anyways, and that's what Capcom said about both fighting game collections. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, you got Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Very, very excited for that. First time playing Zelda. It's super cool. I'm a big Dragon Age guy. I'm seeing some early GOTY buzz for that, just from what I've seen on social media. So I'm excited for that. But overall, it's been just a weird year for Game of the Year.
When's the cutoff?
Is it like November? It's like mid-November.
There's been a couple of really good games that have come out like at the end of November and they get skipped. And it's like,
you don't want to be Power World, right? You don't want to come out in January.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I don't know if Indiana Jones would get GOTY noms, but that's coming out in December, so that's gonna miss that.
It's because
the PlayStation version will make it in there.
Next year will get nominated. I assume Helldivers will win a community award of some kind. Like Helldivers has something, right? Some category.
I don't know if Wukong will get on that list. It'll be hard to ignore, and it definitely deserves it. Don't get me wrong. Don't mishear what I'm saying here, but I just feel like there was enough negative attention around that game before it launched that I feel like that might get passed over.
If Hogwarts Legacy gets skipped, and not even any kind of note, not even a mention of what's the biggest selling game this year.
Right.
If that's the case, all of a sudden everything to me is a little bit suspect. I'm like, all right, we're just.
You mean nobody looked at this game and considered
it? Raving views, raving sales. Yeah.
Was 7 Rebirth enough to get it?
Ooh.
It might hit. Do they have?
It'll get a
nom category.
It'll get a nom for sure.
It'll hit an RPG category for sure.
So speaking of Rebirth, though, because I have been working my way through Remake for the first time, and Final Fantasy 16, for those of you who aren't aware, is finally coming to PC September 17th. First Final Fantasy main game to jump into GeForce Now. I hope this is a trend, but I am so thrilled that I played 7 Remake after I played 16 because I love 7 Remake way more than 16. And 16 isn't a bad game. I'd highly encourage, if you get the opportunity, check it out. It's fun. It's Devil May Final Fantasy for sure. But when it's all said and done, I'm working through Remake, loving the experience, and I get to follow it right up with Rebirth. I don't have a long gap in that regards, and I'm thrilled. And so my goal is to get to play Rebirth this year, because when it comes to the game of the year, like Wukong, No Rest for the Wicked, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, those are the 3 contenders that I immediately think of already as we get ready to go into the back half of the year.
Have you guys played any of the new football game? I haven't played a sports game since college, but I have a few friends that don't really game much, and they are heavily back in.
You talking about the
college football 25. Yeah,
it's a big release.
Yeah, it sold gangbusters, and I even picked it up. And I'm not like a sports sim guy.
It just hadn't. I think they hadn't released one in a while, or they hadn't released a good one. I don't know.
Well,
like I said, I played a ton of them in college, and
there was a ton of drama between EA and the NCAA, and then they lost the license, and then EA, as usual. But so I don't know what the details were for them to make this game.
Group that
but
you want to be good at.
It was a NIL stuff, right? Like they legally couldn't pay college players for a long time for their name, image, likeness, and then there was like a court ruling that they could, and so that kind of kickstarted the development for EA to spin the tires again on a college football game.
It felt weird that we were going to start paying players, but then you found out like this player gets hurt, and they're not even like helping them finish their college. They're not even helping their injuries.
Sorry, you got hurt. Scholarship.
Like
you're not
I don't
going
necessarily know that I want to see 18-year-old kids getting paid millions of dollars and ignoring all things academic about it. Like, I don't know that I want to just see like a weird, like youth professional league. Like that's not, but the alternative was, okay, but these kids were really good at one thing to the point that it made them truly exceptional. And if that one thing gets taken away, we're all going to benefit off of that, but we're not going to like set them up to like get a normal job and live out their life and hopefully have that injury managed or whatever. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
No, especially if we learn more about CTE and all that. Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with that ruling. I was definitely in like as I was a college athlete and did get injured. I was like, yeah, let's let these guys get paid, but also to be able to monetize, like from a content creation perspective. Like there were some severe restrictions; they couldn't market themselves at all under this this weird banner. Now with and the fact that it brought NCAA back to the public, I think is a huge win. I haven't played a sports ball game in a long time outside of the MLB The Show, which thank you, Sony, for bringing that everywhere. But yeah, like I'm like,
even your brother, the Yeti, has been bragging on the new football game.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And he's not a big gamer.
Yeah,
he's got 9 million children just like Ginger, so it's hard for him to make the time. Yeah, he sends a picture of a daycare, and you're like, oh wait, that's a family photo. Sorry, should have known it was on your fireplace.
So true. So true.
I can't imagine you guys going to a restaurant together. They're like, sir, we don't do birthday parties without advance notice. These are all first cousins.
It's like, it's like you gotta rent out the room, like Chuck E. Cheese.
What do you guys at combined? 11?
Yes. Well, and then if you count my sister, that's 12 for my my parents. Rocking.
Just rounded out the dozen.
Well, and then if you extrapolate this out further, like imagine if my 6 kids have 6 kids, I can be rocking 36 grandbabies.
Wow.
Like yeah, busy pawpaw. That's gonna be me. The outside of that, I love it. Goaty, let's get back to it. So Jim, like, what's in the running for you? Because Chrono brought up a good thought. Like, have you played Wukong? Is that going to be something that gets a nod, gets a snub? Like, what would be your prediction?
I haven't played Wukong yet. Speaking of the Xbox ports, I'm hoping it comes to Xbox at some point. I have it on PC, but my PC is like kind of middle of the road. So I'm like, that game does look really good. So I don't want it to like, run less than that. But yeah, I think GOTY for me right now is probably just by default Rebirth. I think it might be Astrobot, but I haven't played that yet. It just depends on how people take to Dragon Age as well, because that's still it's about to come out. So yeah, it's just a weird year. Like this is like a little bit of a different discussion, but to go off of like the Rebirth impressions, it got really good reviews, but I felt like the response to that game was a little more muted than Remake. And you could argue that Remake was like the first game in that, endeavor. So people were just more excited about it. But yeah, you could I don't know. It doesn't feel as big of a deal. So
I was hoping they were going to release like they'd already been pre-making them, like when they film movies a bunch at the same time, because they're worried about like an actor aging.
Yeah.
I was hoping that it would be like one every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't expect it to take that long.
It's just hard to keep that hype train. Like in my head, I was like, wow, if they were once a year, like I'm just going to wait till the third one. Then I'm going to play them all.
Your most dedicated fans are definitely still hyped. They're still enjoying Rebirth, right? But then you've got the average folk who are like, well, why would I pick that up? Especially if you just got a PS5. It's like, wait, do I need the other one?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you kind of do. And so they did, you know, the enhanced port or whatever.
Very like Square to announce a trilogy like that. Like,
oh, Kingdom Hearts fan here. They're trying to figure out like, when is 4 even still a thing, because they sure gave us a teaser 4 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they were, I guess, a little faster, right? From announcement of remake to release, 5 years, you know, remake to rebirth, 4 years, right? So
the trend continues.
2027, 3 years for whatever they call the third one. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's just an interesting because
released.
Yeah, released.
that's genius.
That's so good.
That's genius.
Chris said the magic word daycare, and I was rushed by my children like on cue. Yeah, dude. I'm wondering, like, I'm so excited because Rebirth was also in Unreal, and I'm, you know, Square Enix has also been making kind of those waves, and yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've heard the downside about it, which is weird saying it this way because we talked about shorter games costing more. People are like, you got to budget 78 hours. Like, it's a big game. It's a big game. And I'm like, I remember that as a kid. RPGs were the best dollar per hour because you got, you know, 60, 80 hours of game as opposed to like, all right, I beat Mario and now I'm going to set it back down.
I think the difference now, though, is I'm more cognizant of the mindless grind tasks that eat up game time as opposed to, am I getting plot and story, and do I feel like I'm saving the world right now, or do I feel like I'm harvesting carrots for some reason, you know?
Yeah,
those are my fonder moments. I like the Animal Crossing moments in a game.
Don't get me wrong.
The years that I spent just farming Final Fantasy X, like just some random zone in the middle, and it's like, oh, are you gonna beat it? No, I've already beaten it. This is a new run. I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to have like a kind of a wish that would come true, I know a lot of people are all like, you know, Valve and bringing Half-Life 3, but I would love to see Square Enix bring out 10-3. Like, I would love to see a follow-up. I love 10-2. Like, I actually like 10-2 more than I like 10, and I know I'm in the minority there for sure. But I would love
10-2 is the worst part of 10. like 10 would be better if 10-2 never existed.
Wow.
As somebody that only got one game every year, I waited patiently. I did not have the allowance to buy a second game. And 10-2, I thought I was getting another 10. And that was my one game. And I had to wait 12 more months to get another game. That should have been numbered something different. It was a wildly different experience. It was not the same. Like, a sequel is more of the same. Like, Jurassic Park 2 is not a Ghostbusters movie. Like, just call it something else. If they had called it Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 15 or Final Fantasy whatever, then like I would be like, oh, well, that's what I get for not like waiting on my Nintendo Power to tell me about it or whatever I was using for news at the time. Like, but instead I was just upset.
So I take it you weren't a fan of Final Fantasy.
I felt the same way about Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask bothered me.
Oh, what? I did Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask is so good.
I only got one game a year, and I got it for Christmas, and I beat it before school started.
It was very short. I could see that being a bummer.
I beat it before this. So then what? So then school lets out in May. What are you gonna do this summer? I don't know. I was stuck on Ocarina of Time took me so long to beat.
Well, did you complete the Bomber's Notebook on that first run? There's a lot of side content in that game.
See, and this is why I needed content creators. They really expanded my view of things. They didn't exist back then. And now you can just add fishing to a game. Like now, No Man's Sky, I'm like, ooh, maybe I need to go back and catch fish in a game that's not even downloaded right now. Like maybe that's important to me. I don't know why. Like it just I love fishing logs.
Every game starts adding fishing. Forza, hey, we added fishing. Put in the hours.
That update, like I've been having this roaming feeling as we saw, especially with the Worlds 1 update with No Man's Sky. I was like, and with Aquarius, I was like, oh, they are absolutely beta testing the Light No Fire stuff. That they're like, there is no way that this is not, Light No Fire tech that they've been like, we're making this new game, we're working on our engine. Hey, we got fishing. Let's bring it into No Man's Sky. Like, okay, yeah, of course. Like, why not? Like, it's that just seems very logical to do. So I was like, I was so thrilled to see the Aquarius update, and that to me leads us right back into the Game of the Year discussion where we first learned of Light No Fire last Game Awards 3 months from now, which would be roughly the time we will hear from Sean Murray again. Who knows? The guy's a madman, and I love it. But yeah, I think we might be hearing some more about Light No Fire at the Game Awards. It seems like an apt way to follow up kind of a year of No Man's Sky updates.
It's just No Man's Land, right? Like, it's just that's what it is. Like, just to make sure I'm understanding, everything they put into No Man's Sky right now is them beta testing features to shove on the ground. Am I missing anything?
So.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm hyped about that. Like, I'm not saying like I can't believe that's all they're doing. That's amazing. Like, they have just been slowly crowd testing everything.
Are they gonna take the same marketing approach that they did for No Man's Sky with the like every trailer shows like one feature with some really good music, and Sean Murray's just like, this is the game I've wanted to make. This is such a task, and you just it's like, okay, honestly, but we've seen one new thing each and every trailer. I want the game now.
So Gamer Cred is this like bank that you deposit into and you withdraw. They over withdrew on the original launch, but they have spent all of the remaining time since depositing.
They've definitely
they are like people. So I think they could just release from the makers of No Man's Sky,
right?
Light No Fire.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all they need to do,
and that's it. Yeah. No gameplay. No, I think that would be plenty. Like, remember, Starfield for years was going to be the greatest game of all time, and all they showed us was like a wheel driving on dirt. And people were like, I'm in. I love wheels on dirt. So like, I don't know that it needs anything. Like, just say from the makers of No Man's Sky, Light No Fire.
But to be fair, we see what Starfield launched like, and we were like, wait, what happened? My wheels on dirt weren't as fun as I was hoping it would be.
And we all know that if we give them money, they're going to apologize to us with free content for the rest of time for free. Like, they've set that trend now.
That's also fair. It's very
because
fair
they don't collect money for anything. Like, the number one comment I see on any tweet post from them, from his Twitter, if you follow his Twitter, anytime he releases something like new fishing, the number one comment is, take my money.
Yeah.
Every time.
Please let us pay you.
Just sell like a golden fishing rod that does all the same things, but it's $5. Like, let these people support you if they want to. Not everybody has $5. Not everybody wants to give you $5. But there are people that want to just hand you $5.
Yeah. The number one meme that I see that ties into what Chris just said is where there's like a guy breaking down the door and he's like, it's free update time. And the guy's like, oh, God, please just take some money off the shelf. Okay, you've done it. You've redeemed it. And honestly, that's one of the things that with Light No Fire is like, I trust that regardless of how that game launches, and I do think that they will probably go an early access route, because that's just a really good way to get the if there's any edges that need to be polished out of the way, done, and then you can have your marketing launch. But I do think, like, even if there's rough edges, the team's going to keep going with it. Like, you can bank.
They're already apologizing. They're like Canadian.
Are you guys ready to play some 20 questions?
I'm going to duck out for that.
All right. Sounds good.
The good news is I got promoted. It takes effect in December. It's on my days off that for now I need to go in and do some training on the new stuff.
Well, go enjoy your training, sir. All right, Chris, where can people find you?
Here next week. And I'm hopeful to play games that are not on my phone, but I'm telling you, Dawncaster is good. If you like single player roguelite deck builders, if you're like, Chris, I really like multiplayer shooters, and I can't believe you talked me into buying this app, don't do it. But if you like single player roguelite PvE deck builders, no PvP, none. My brother that only likes playing games if he can crush people's souls, don't get it. But otherwise, Dawncaster's for you.
All right. Well, thanks guys for being here. Check out Chris's channel. And when he gets back to posting content, you'll be able to see it as soon as it goes live.
Delightful shorts, by the way. If you just want to go watch shorts, watch Jim's shorts. They're delightful. See you guys.
See ya. Oh, I hate you two for calling them shorts. Like, why can't we have some kind of naming convention here?
Because Instagram stole Reels, and that's a really good name.
Yeah,
it's a really good name on a stupid
TikToks.
Platform.
Yeah,
they got it. It's like, come on, guys. Branding, I guess. Anyhow, you guys ready to play 20 questions? Last week, the team here squeaked out a win on the 20th question.
Let's go.
Actually, no, I don't think that was it. It was the previous week. Last week was Final Fantasy Tactics, but it was great. We had Mugen Lord on for that. This week, we got a game. And so for the rules, for anybody who is here in chat, You can play along. I'll announce it if you get the game right. And you can also ask questions. I am not going to highlight any questions or kind of things that chat asks because I don't want to end up directing you guys down the wrong rabbit hole, but you're welcome to look at chat, etc. And you can even ask questions like, has chat named the game, or things like that. You got those in disposal. For chat, you get a virtual Stadia controller if you get the game as well. And that's all I got. Maybe one day, like we'll
worth more than the physical Stadia controller.
Well, you guys after those Concords, it's like, all right, I got Stadia controllers configured for PC Bluetooth now. All right, I have the game. I've got the Wikipedia up. We use that as a kind of just a truth. Like what does the Wikipedia say? That's going to be the definite source of truth rather than an opinion about anything. Mm-hmm. You guys have 20 questions, and let's start with Chrono.
All right. Was this game released pre-2000?
Pre-2000. It was not.
Okay.
Is it a multiplayer only game?
It is not. That's a great question. That's a way to weed out a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He's a pro, guys. I know how to play this game. We're good.
All right. Is it a first-party game?
Is it a first-party game? It is.
Okay. Did it come out after 2010?
So I'm going to ask you a clarifying question.
Okay.
Are we talking after January 1st, 2010, or are we talking December 31st, 2010?
January, like
okay.
The start of the year. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I just was like, wait a minute.
All right. So we're looking at after the start of 2010. Is that what we agreed? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. It's a first party game. Is it on the PlayStation?
It is not. That's 5 questions.
Okay. Does it have both single player and multiplayer functionality?
It does not. Well, I wouldn't classify it as a multiplayer game, but there might be a multiplayer component.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Don't think of it as a single player game.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. I'm just trying to weed out like platforms and publishers.
Yeah.
Is it it's first party, so is it published by Microsoft?
It is not.
Is it published by Nintendo then?
It is. It is a Nintendo game. All right, you guys are at 7.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Is it a franchise or is it a franchise game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Does the main character wear a red hat?
He does.
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, I think I know the game, but
a lot of games with that red hat.
Yeah, a lot. 2010 was an interesting gaming year, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so is it a Wii game?
I'm not seeing platform. 1 second. I think so, but I'm not seeing it on the wiki. Why would they not put that on the wiki?
Okay.
I'm going to say yes, and hopefully I don't screw you.
Do you go to different galaxies in this game?
You do.
So is it Super Mario Galaxy 2?
It is Super Mario Galaxy.
Let's go.
Chat got it.
13 questions, and our winner in chat, Sasano, dropping in the Super Mario Galaxy 2 guess.
Hype.
Way to go.
Such a good game.
Such a good game. Obviously, this was brought into my mind when we were talking, not when we were talking about Astrobot, but Astrobot being of that tier, that caliber.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, oh man, Super Mario Galaxy 2.
I
don't know why it wasn't included on the little Mario Galaxy collection that they released for the Switch though.
That's what I don't get. 3D All-Stars, and you're gonna leave off like the better of the Mario Galaxy games. Mario Galaxy 1 is really good, but I enjoyed 2 a little more.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted the 3, you know, each era, and
I think a lot of people.
A
lot of people read into it being like, "Oh, it's gonna get ported," but I've given up. No more games would be ported to the Switch, as far as I'm concerned.
Man, that would break my heart because I've been like holding out for Wind Waker, the HD. Port.
Oh, I finally just played them on the Wii U because I've had them, but I was like, oh, I'm just gonna. I know as soon as I start playing it, it's gonna come out on the Switch, and I'm not gonna want to start over. Mm-hmm. And so then it didn't happen with the last like main direct. So I was like, forget it. I'm just playing both of them, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. Finally played them. Got him. I finished up Twilight Princess just recently, and I was like, finally, okay, great. I'm glad I got those out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's really good. So anyway, I'm gonna pull out the hot ones. This camera. Jim, what do you got going on in your world? Tell the people what you got going on.
Yeah, so again, I stream pretty much every day on twitch.tv/Jim Tacey. So you're more than welcome to come over and hang out. Probably gonna be playing some Astrobot tonight, but we're always running like Fortnite, Halo, and just hanging out. And then I'm Jim Tacey on all socials. So uploading all sorts of content on all platforms all the time. Yeah.
Chrono, where can people find you? This camera.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch at Chrono32123. I play a lot of Fortnite lately. Trying to wait on Echoes of Wisdom to come out as my next big single player set of streams, but been playing a lot of Splatoon in the meantime because I didn't play the single player for that either.
Yeah.
Is that a game that I should pick up? I've never played a Splatoon game.
It's fine. It took me a lot to like it, but now that I've gotten like my head around the concepts, because you go in going, it's a shooter. It's really not.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to think as getting my kids get more orientated, you know, because like
it's fun. I play with my daughter.
Roblox.
We'll jump in matches together, and I don't care like how well we do because all the sweats are playing anyway, so we can just have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, guys, I'll be sure to include their links in the description of this podcast. And if you're listening into the MP3 audio, thanks so much for being out there in the MP3 world. The podcast has officially crossed over 60,000 downloads, and
let's go.
Roughly,
wow.
We just every week it just seems like it's just getting better and better. So I thank you everybody here who tuned in for the live show. We'll be back next Friday. I was about to say Wednesday. I don't know why. We'll be back next Friday. I don't know what's going on. I usually schedule the show on Wednesdays. And we'll be covering the gaming news and all that is going down. So anyhow, till next time, hey.